Hi there, it's Maria Luz of Maria Luz Online. I am an astrologer, a certified hypnotist, and a psychic medium, and I'm here with the Astro Energy Report for July 19th. So, first of all, I just want to give a shout out to all of my fellow astrologers who practice mundane astrology. That's where they focus on, what's happening in the world. And you may remember last Friday, I gave a mention to the Mars-Uranus conjunction. And for some reason, it came out of me about things happening in the US in history. And I thought about it later and I was actually a little bit anxious because I didn't know if that was true. It just came out of me. But anyway, the astrologers who do focus on that, they totally called even down to Trump because of the position of where that conjunction is relative to his chart. So, if you are someone interested in world politics and happenings, there are a lot of other astrologers who focus on those things who are super accurate. So I wanted to acknowledge that because it takes a lot of guts to put your predictions out there. However, I like to focus a little bit more close to home, and that's kind of a perfect way to roll in today's main topic because it is the full moon that's happening on Sunday, July 21st at 3:17 in the morning Pacific time. It's happening at 29 degrees Capricorn. And you may ask, wait a minute, wasn't there just a full moon in Capricorn? And yes, there was. However, with Pluto emphasizing the transition from Capricorn to Aquarius by really kind of creeping back and forth between the two signs, and now sitting just a few degrees away from this full moon, I must conclude that there is something that we could pay attention to here. And with the sun in Cancer, which is a sign that's ruled by the moon, for both of those full moons this month, and the moon will be making a sextile to Neptune on Sunday, there is this other theme of a connection of our emotional energy to our spiritual energy. And one of the concepts I believe we are being asked to think about is where our responsibility lies. And this does fit along the Cancer Capricorn polarity axis. I keep saying access, but I mean axis. um, I think I still have COVID brain a little bit. However, um, as especially as this axis relates to groups, as in the family group, which is more the Cancer side, and then the public group, which is the Capricorn side. And there's also the Aquarius energy having to do with groups and how they define or can transform our future. And that's what Pluto is leading us to with Aquarius. And for example, we may feel a natural sense of obligation to our family of origin or our family unit. It yet isn't the way we think about family shaped by an agenda and therefore somewhat unnatural. And in our case in the US, that agenda has largely been shaped by the patriarchy and capitalism. And this idealization of what I think it's still called, the nuclear family unit, it's been harmful not only to families, but to the collective and to humanity because it is unnatural. And perhaps in the same way that at one time people believed that their romantic partner would just meet their every need, and that's thanks to Disney, maybe. Um, and then, see that those types of expectations are actually unrealistic and even harmful. Maybe we're starting to see the same idea with family. And it's just, especially, I think the pandemic expose this, but it's too much pressure on one or two people who would usually be the parents, but to have the family entirely self-sufficient as a unit. And when that can't be possible, there's all this shame that comes in, and then there's hiding of problems, big problems. And we've forgotten that we're meant to share the burdens and the joys with our community and with nature. And we are part of nature because that really is our larger family. But capitalism prefers to have us feel as though we lack, and that products and packaging can replace this connection to community or nature. And our natural ability to even seek and give support has been tainted by the systems that are now just this status quo that we're swimming in. And just again, it's simply too much for one person to take responsibility for their children and their aging parents and their job, let alone their health, which is another another area where we're seeing this harm, without these natural support systems that we're meant to have. And I, as I was outside doing some weeding, I've been just going outside a few minutes, like every hour or two, um, just to give my brain some time in nature, along with my body. Um, so, I was thinking if we lived more in tune with the community and with nature, we wouldn't have to write off children and our elders as being this helpless and needy group, because they wouldn't be. They would be more active and self-sufficient and connected. Um, so, it made me think of this hyper Cancerian side that maybe if there's too much loyalty expected going towards the family of origin, um, but not all of our energy is really meant to be spent there. And we're meant to spend some of our energy on the community and the collective, including nature as, the larger family. And then we have connection there as a result, which then supports back, the smaller family unit. And you can see how this circle seems more natural and sustainable and healthy. And in order for it to work, we are inhabiting that entire axis of Cancer and Capricorn, not just going to extremes from one to the other. And I know that a lot of people are really tired of extremes in every, area of the world and politics and life. And just when you open up your phone or step out of your door. Um, so I'm interpreting Neptune's reach for the moon in that sextile position as doing an emotional check-in about how we may have idealized this tradition that that I don't want to say stuck, but that's been expected, put on us as an expectation. And further, also on Sunday, Mercury in Leo makes a square to Uranus in Taurus. And to me, this emphasizes the theme of how we perceive, that would be Mercury, loyalty, which would be Leo, and whether this perception of loyalty in that way is honoring our authentic self, which is Uranus, in a natural truth, which would be the Taurus part, or has our ego spun that sense of responsibility and loyalty into something unnatural? And I say our ego, but it really is, again, our conditioned ego. Um, I don't think I need to heap any more stress on individuals. But related to that, less than a week after Mars just made that conjunction that I mentioned in the beginning with Uranus, Mars is coming into a conjunction with the dwarf planet Sedna, after Mars enters Gemini on Saturday. And I think this reminds us that we always have choices, and that's the Gemini part. And this empowers us to our own future, and that is the Sedna piece. And on Monday, the sun enters Leo and makes an immediate opposition to Pluto, which by that time will have moved back to the very beginning of Aquarius. So again, I think just all of that emphasizes these themes and the sun literally shining a light on Pluto, making that emphasis on those weekend themes. And they're not just obviously coming up this weekend, but things have been building. And the Sabian symbol for the full moon addresses these concepts as well. And for this full moon, it is directors of a large firm meet in secret conference, activity of inner formative elements of real personality, massing of soul energies in an emergency, spiritual leadership. So I realize I tend to push us, and I don't mean to preach, but I just feel called to highlight these things and then encourage us to think intentionally about them rather than just go on default mode. So, anyway, I know I tend to push us to these challenging themes. So, I want to highlight one very sweet moment that happened Sunday. And that's when our two so called benefic planets, which are Venus and Jupiter, so benefic, that goes back to Hellenistic astrology and whether you were a day or a night chart. One of those is your benefic. But in general, they don't bring uh, trauma or tragedy. And those two make this sextile aspect, which again is kind of a nice, hey, how you doing? Um, Nice collaborative aspect. And so I see it as a little encouragement to indulge in some way. That's the Jupiter indulging, like maybe new clothes or a new do. That's kind of Venus in Leo, likes to peacock around a little bit, or maybe attend a music event or be creative and write a poem or go for karaoke. Those are also kind of VO. I combined Venus and Leo, Venus self-expressions. And these things, I think, especially done with another person or persons, would blend the energies really nicely. There we go. So please share this video if you find it helpful. I also post the written analysis on my Substack, and that is just called Maria Luz's Substack. I'm sure you can find it, and I'll put the link here. And if you're interested in having an astrology reading with me or hypnosis or mediumship, feel free to use the code AstroHip for 20% off on my website, and that's marialuz.online. And if that's not enough of a discount, just email me and we'll work something out. And thank you so much for spending time with me, and have a great weekend. I will see you next week.